Ladies and gentlemen, now we're on to shout outs and rants. Matt has a hard stop in a few moments, so we're going to let him go first. And here will be the order: Matt Kelly, Karen Moore, Karen Woody, Jonathan Marks, Jonathan Armstrong, and Tom Fox. So, Matt Kelly, what you got for us today?
So today I have a shout out to a politician here in Boston named Josh Kraft, who was one of several candidates running to be mayor of Boston against incumbent Mayor Michelle Wu. And last Tuesday, they had the preliminary election for that race for mayor. And the top two candidates, Mayor Wu would definitely be one. And then the top two candidates would go on to face each other in November. Josh Kraft was the second place finisher there. However, Mayor Wu clobbered him by a margin of like 75% to 22% with a couple of other kooks in the tiny single digits. So Josh Kraft then did something astonishing in the modern American political landscape, and he realized he should just bow out because nobody was taking him seriously. That was a classy thing to do. It did not help Josh Kraft that A, he is not actually much of a politician. He is a novice politician trying to buy his way into office. B, he is a billionaire. He is the son of Robert Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots, younger brother to Jonathan Kraft, who runs the Patriots. And of course, the Kraft family is closely associated with Donald Trump because Bob Kraft is one of Donald Trump's close longtime friends. You can imagine how that would go over in a place like Boston. So yeah, Kraft got creamed by Michelle Wu, and then he said, what am I doing here? There's no lane for him to go forward. He didn't raise any complaints about stealing the vote or anything like that. He just understood voters didn't like what he was selling. He was only going to be throwing bad money after worse money. So he decided to drop out. Mayor Wu will now presumably be reelected in a huge landslide. That's what the people want. And Kraft was a class act to see it. So good for him that he had the common sense just to treat democracy the way it should be, with respect, and he got out of the way when it was time for him to go.
Karen Moore.
I'm going to rant very briefly about Disney and ABC's decision to cancel Jimmy Kimmel or suspend his ability to broadcast after a very kind of not that funny, but also not that harmful remark about MAGA the other night. It's just one more drop in the ocean of what's going on with media. Trump the other day on Air Force One spoke to reporters and said he thinks that the FCC should be revoking licenses left, right, and center because of the bad publicity that they give him, Donald Trump. When a reporter yesterday asked Donald Trump how he planned to characterize Antifa as a terrorist organization, given that it's a movement, not an organization, his response was, so is Antifa funding NPR. We're just seeing attacks that they're so unbelievable that they're kind of hard to credit. So that's my rant. I dread to see what's next, but slowly but surely we're kind of eroding the ability of media to say what they think, even in jest. So that's where we are. Watch the space.
Professor Woody.
Yeah, I have a shout out this episode, mostly because there's just too much to rant at, and we're all just sort of screaming into the wind. So I will have a shout out, and I'll have another sort of pop culture shout out, and that is to the landslide wins that the show Adolescence was able to pull in this weekend or Sunday night at the Emmys. It's just a fantastic show. It is hard. There's a lot of tough topics, but the star, who was 13-year-old, I think 14 maybe at some points when he's filming, won also Best Actor. So he's just now 15. But beyond that, the show is all single track. There are 4 episodes and it's just one shot. So even just artistically, it's spectacular to watch. But the substance also is really powerful and really kind of taking on some necessary issues of our time, certainly around teens and social media and all of it. Shout out to them and to the incredible work that show was.
Mr. Marks, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Sheinelle Jones I believe she's on NBC, and the fact that her husband lost a battle, I believe, brain cancer not too long ago. And she came back like a trooper, but I know it's really hard. But ancillary to that, I want to give a shout out to anyone out there who's a caregiver, to anybody going through cancer or battling that on a regular and ongoing basis. I think a lot of times people just don't understand how much stress and strain that's put on that caregiver. Shout out to her. She's come back with vengeance. And I'm sure over time it won't be easy. It's never easy, but I give her a lot of credit. And all the organizations out there that help support the caregivers, like the cancer support community, a shout out to you as well. Thanks for that.
Mr. Armstrong.
Times two to Jonathan's. On a more upbeat note, it's my first visit to Nashville, and I grew up with something of a hatred of country music. I'm going to say it really quietly in case there's a mob outside, but I am going to recover. And that came largely because I worked a night shift in a warehouse to pay my way through college during the summer with a Kenny Rogers fan who would only allow Kenny Rogers to be played in the warehouse. But, dear listener, Mary Shirley and I went to the Grand Ole Opry on Wednesday night. And I'm going to shout out to the Grand Ole Opry. It's a phenomenal experience. I even was able to sit through and sing along to The Gambler, sung by Don Schlitz, one of the co-authors. It's the 100th anniversary of the Grand Ole Opry, so I want to wish them a great 100th birthday. And so good was the experience on Wednesday night that, dear listener, have a guess where I am for my last night in Nashville tonight.
Did you take the tour and stand on the circle?
I did not. I did not feel worthy just yet.
You need to take the tour so you can stand on the circle. I'm going to give a shout out to the Community Foundation of the Hill Country, headed by Austin Dixon. At 9:43 a.m. on Friday, July 4th, they opened a fund for victims of the Kerrville flood. Within the first 3 days, they had taken in more money than the foundation had ever taken in. Within the first 30 days, they took in $100 million, setting the all-time record for donations for a natural disaster in the United States. In that same time frame, they had given out $11 million, which was also the highest number of grants ever made from such a tragedy. For the first 7 days, they received a donation online every 0.5 seconds. It was the giving for the victims of the flood in the Texas Hill Country was beyond describable. Thank you to everyone who donated, and shout out to Austin Dixon and his team at the Community Foundation of the Hill Country for their work in helping us get through this tragedy.